In the last video, we looked at the syntax of templates and we went through an example of modifying a template and setting it and all that kind of good stuff. In this particular video, I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the activity of setting templates. There's two types of ways that you can actually set a template inside of Klevu. The one that we did in our example is the one that you're going to find inside of customization files. However, in our documentation, if we go back over to TemplateJS, we go to Template Customizations, and we look at Set Templates, it shows a different method of being able to specify how you set a template. It uses the Klevu settings. So if I grab this little block of code here, come back over to our demo, and this time I'm going to get rid of that silly little function I created. I'm going to comment out this code, and instead I'm going to paste in that example. However, I'm going to use the same information that was in this one. So for the name, there's a name. I'm going to say the product block. And there's this, which is the selector. And there's a selector. There's also a scope, and in this case, I only want it to apply to landing. Now, the version that's in the documentation, I do not recommend using, very specifically because even though it does work, it's very error prone. Essentially, when you do set templates as an array, the way that the Klevu function works is that you pass in any object that you pass into the Klevu function, it gets merged into the settings. And because it's an array, as far as this is concerned, the only thing it knows about this object that's in this array is that that's the 0 index. So when you start merging, so for example, if I was to grab this and somewhere else in my code, I do the same thing again. And let's just, for argument's sake, let's say I come back over to the search page, and then this time I say, hey, I want to change the filters. And, you know, whatever my custom filter ID is, right? Like that could be anything. Whenever this happens, what's going to end up happening is that this template is not going to be overridden. The reason is because when it tries to apply these settings, at one point in time, it says, hey, inside of your settings, there should be something called theme. Inside of it, there's something called set templates. Its value is an array with a 0 index of this. But then you immediately override the thing because now that 0 index thing is this other thing. So it replaces this one. A better approach is that instead of doing this as an array, you can do it as an object. So I'm just going to move all of this in, and the trick is you just have to give it a name. So I can call this my custom product block. And it's JavaScript, so it's just got to be an object like that. But when I do it this way, I can now, down here, do the same thing again, make it an object, and say my custom filters, and move this up one line. And now, when it tries to merge, it will not override this one because these are different names. Now, if they both have the same name, then yes, this one will override this one during that merging process of what Klevu actually does. But as long as the two names are different, it's okay to have multiple blocks of Klevu with set templates and so on and so forth. However, it's more efficient not to have to call that code multiple times. It is an object. You could just bring them together. Let's see if it'll format this for me. Yep, there we go. And so this way, when we're doing the set templates, we can modify the product block and modify the filters, and then it's going to go ahead and try to do what it's going to try to do. So that's one thing that I wanted to express in the way that you could use the setting method. The problem with this is that you only have a selector in order to be able to accomplish this. The problem with that is that you might not want to have these script tags all over your document. One of the things that you can do, and this is the preferred way, this is the way that you're going to find it in the customization files, is I'm going to get rid of this and bring it over here. And I'm going to say var my custom product block is equal to, and I'm going to use a template literal string. The reason why I'm using a template literal string and not single quotes or double quotes to make it a string is because this template has line breaks in it, and you don't want to lose that. And in order to make this work with the either the single or the double quotes, you'd have to put a backslash at the end of every single line break. And the minute that you're doing all that, you're just like messing with the whole, it becomes very, very difficult to modify. So if you use a template literal string, which is just the backtick, it's the the key over in your top left of the keyboard. But if you use that template literal string, then you don't have to worry about the line breaks. It works just fine. And so now I have this variable that is the content. It is the string that represents my, my template. However, with this syntax, I can't specify a variable. This will not work. It's specifically looking for a CSS selector. So because of that, we can't use this method. We have to use this method. Now, mind you, I'm going to duplicate this line over here and comment this one out just so we keep a copy of it. There's this big long thing, and then at some point in time, this set template, the very first parameter is actually another function call, which is Klevu DOM helpers get HTML. That's got a CSS selector. So this is doing the same thing that this one was doing. It's just kind of a convenience. But again, for customizations, you don't want that. And all it's really going to do is just return the string that's inside of the thing that you just selected. So what you could do is here you can put in that variable. That variable is the string. Then you can tell it which template you want to actually override. And then again, don't worry about that last parameter. It's necessary, so just make sure it's there, but it's always true. Now I've got this code that will then turn around and execute this here. So I'm going to come back over here and just get rid of the script tag altogether because we don't need it. I'm going to get rid of this code because you don't need it either. And now we've got our template literal string, which is storing that template as a variable. We're saying that we want to set the template to be that string and that name and then this thing. And we could do the same thing if we wanted to do filters and just say my custom filters, for example. And then that could be yet another var, my custom filters is equal to some other literal string. And then I'm just going to say Juan. Now I happen to know that it's filters, but obviously you'd be looking at the names, the render names. This is what you can call for that second parameter. Now something else that I wanted to point out was that yes, you could do it this way. The problem here is that we're basically hard coding this landing into this set template. And even though I am only targeting landing, there are times where you want to target landing or catnav. That way you don't have to write the same code twice, because it turns out that catnav and landing, the category page and the search result page, share like 95% of the exact same code. The same templates, same names, same events, all the same stuff. If we look at, for the search result page, the ID of the template for the Klevu template landing, this is the very first template that starts to render for the search page, and inside of it, it calls all these other templates. But Klevu landing template is the ID. There's two of them on this page. The second one is actually in category page. And take a look. There's product block. Klevu landing template product block. It's using the exact same template. Filters is Klevu landing template filters. It's the exact same template. Here we are at search result page. It's the same template. They use the same code. So you might want to specify both, only have to specify your custom template one time and use it for both. But if we do it this way, it won't work, because here we're setting the template for landing, not catnav. So if we come back to this code, and I know I grabbed it from here, and this one had landing, but if I keep looking for set template, and I'm just going to grab this little portion right here and find that. There's a bunch of them, 34 of these. If I look, there's other ones where it's basically just saying scope template scope. And if you notice that function that I'm passing in as my second parameter in my before activation, it might look familiar to you. It's the same function, data, and scope. If I keep looking, here it is again, but this one does have the hard-coded landing. Keep looking. This one's got the hard-coded, hard-coded, hard-coded. This one doesn't. It's result page.getScope, something else. So you'll find different variations of this code, but the most universal one, and here it's just referencing, so this is the same thing even though it looks a little different. I'm trying to find one in particular where it's not hard-coded. And I don't think that it is in this particular file. However, if I take a look at Klevu.debug.js, which is the same thing as Klevu.js, and I look for the same thing, there are templates that are being specified here. And granted, it's doing something else, but here it's using scope.kscope template, set template. This one in particular is the right one. I'm just telling you, because if you look at the customization code, this is the way that we do it. So I'm just going to replace this hard-coded landing set template version with this shorter one. The reason why I'm doing this is because if we happen to be in landing, scope represents landing. So scope, kscope, template, set template, now it's setting it for landing. But if this same exact code executes for catnav, this time it's actually going to, that scope, kscope, template, set template is going to be for catnav. This makes the code universal. This is how we do it in our customization specifically for this reason. This makes that code completely universal. Now if I hit save, now my filter section looks like it's gone, and my template's been modified, or it looks like it's been modified. Now what happened to my Juan? If I take a look at elements and I go find, I'm going to look for my Juan. So here's the code that it's supposed to be using for that filters template. And look, Juan's in here 4 times. So if I come back over here, it's actually in here. It's just, for some strange reason, it's just back there somewhere. If I look again, here's another one. It's in here. I just can't see it. I think it's because it thinks that it's empty. This, whenever there's a KU empty that's being added, that makes it display none, It's got a width of 0, padding 0, height of 0, margin 0, overflow hidden important. So KU empty makes the thing disappear. If I take that off, I still can't see it, but it's somewhere. It's definitely in here somewhere, or the thing above it might have a KU empty on it. Get rid of that. And then does the thing above it have a KU empty? Nope. So now if I take a look, it's in here. It's definitely in here. I don't know where it's at, but I know it's in here. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to show a little bit about how that works. Yeah, there's probably something in here, some class that isn't being added or some attribute that's not being added because it knows that the thing is supposed to be empty. But anyway, just trust me in the fact that it is there. That could have been some other template. It could have been anything. But obviously, my override of the filter section actually did work. Facets is what we call filters. So this is that left filter facet section, and it does say Juan just like my template said, and it's because my set template for landing is working and it is modifying it to do this one instead of the other one. If I comment this line and re-execute, then I get my filters back because I'm no longer using my custom filter template. I'm using the default filter template, and then it does what it's supposed to do.